Hello. It's good to meet you on the path. Today's episode is called Fail Lure. And so the word failure has the word lure in it, right? There's a part of ourselves that kind of wants to fail, isn't there? We have to fight that part that's like, I don't feel like going to work out today. It's been a long day. I can just go home and watch TV and relax. And then there's the other part trying to inspire you to get that workout in, to get more of that work done. There's that lure that just our thoughts kind of will chase after it. That part of ourselves is like afraid of success. When it was just over 4 years ago, May of 2015, I was taking my Strong First kettlebell instructor certification over the weekend. It was in Chicago, which is about like a 3-hour and some drive for me from Indianapolis. And nobody can just not train, show up for the weekend, and pass that test. Even if you're strong and fit, I don't think anybody without training specifically for that test is going to pass it. Some people train for years. It's difficult. My girlfriend at the time really inspired me to do it. She knew I was really tired of driving a cab. And I was training like friends and friends of friends and stuff for a long time. I started as a trainer in 1999, got out of doing it professionally and just trained friends and friends of friends. I didn't like the business part of it for various reasons. So I get to the certification, and I felt like I was, pretty much in at least the middle of the pack or so. And, there's like 100 people there. And then I had an injury. I had a shoulder injury before I even went there. And so part of the test is you have to press 53 pounds 5 times each arm. Normally that's not a big deal for me. There were times, so during that weekend, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the test is Sunday. There were times during that weekend I couldn't even press 35 pounds with that arm. It just hurt. We had to do a couple other techniques, one like the Turkish get up where I couldn't post on that arm. I couldn't do it. And I asked our group leader, I was like, well, I can do this all with my left hand, but I can't do it with my right hand. I'm right-handed. I just have this injury. He goes, okay, well, you can just send a video in. So you have up to 3 months after you fail the test. If you get close, if you just barely fail, then you have up to 3 months to turn in a video. If you're nowhere close, then you just have to try again later, go through the testing again. But if you're close, they'll let you send a video and test that. I'm thinking there's no way I'm sending a video in. I don't care what happens. I'm passing this test this weekend. So Friday passes. Yep, Saturday, very sore, really sore. You put in a lot of work because they're all day. They're like 10 hours, and you're just working. And at the time, there was a manual that was about 130 some pages. You get it Friday when you get there. The test is Sunday. You're there lifting and listening for 10 hours. Then you have to go back to your hotel, and you'd have to divide, if you divide it up evenly, that's 70 pages a night of reading, and you have to understand these technical lifting points. So Saturday, super sore. And I remember asking, because when we were walking, sometimes you'd walk from the hotel to the dome where it was. It's like you walk over this bridge, and sometimes somebody would see you and give you a ride. It wasn't real far, but I think one of the days it was even like kind of raining, and it was the last day, and I actually drove that day from the hotel to the dome. And so I gave a few people a ride. But I remember the Saturday going to the dome and getting picked up. Maybe it was on the way back, whatever it was. And I was like, "Oh, how you guys feeling?" One guy was like, "I feel like shit. Thanks for asking, though." Because he was, again, like so sore. You're so wiped out. My partner, though, they partner you up. My partner, I guess we chose each other. Kevin, man, it didn't seem like he was all that sore. I remember him jumping over this fence, and I'm just like dragging my legs behind me like a zombie. But he seemed to have some. But anyways, after the Saturday, walking back to the hotel, I was having some doubts about whether I was going to pass or not. And I started making like kind of some excuses why I'm going to allow myself to fail. But on that way home, walking up this bridge, it's kind of like this archway. I was just giving myself a pep talk. I was talking out loud to myself. I'm pretty sure I was talking out loud to myself. Like, you're going to do this. You have to do this. Kind of, you didn't come this far to only come this far, sort of a thing. And I didn't want to tell my girlfriend I failed, and my mom I failed, and my kids that I failed. And I really didn't want to fail. But there was that other part of me that's like, you have all these good excuses to fail. Your shoulder hurts. You're sore. Or even like you're just not good enough. Even those are things are popping in my mind. And so it's that internal battle going on. And so Sunday, the day of the test, I ended up passing. It's a hard physical test, especially when you're injured and sore. It's part of the deal. Toughness is part of the test. And then when it came time for the written exam, like my mind just fried from little rest and a lot of work, and you have to remember this, technical stuff. It's not like, super complicated, but you just have to know it. So I ended up passing that also, and I was pretty proud of myself, pretty happy to have gotten through it. And we have that a lot. So that opened up some doors for me for sure. That certification, the Strong First certification, it gets you respect. Not everybody respects it, but for the most part, people know it's hard. They know if you've been through it, you're legit. And it was cool to prove that to myself. And then when people would find me, they're looking for a Strong First instructor in their city. They see me. For a while, I was the only one And then there were a couple I found in like the town, like just south of Indianapolis. And now I think there's a few of us now, but for a little while I was the only one. And then I let that go. So I would have renewed it just a few months ago, and I let it go. So I passed the test twice. You have to do it every 2 years. And so I passed it the second time. I was thinking I would do the second level this time, and I decided I've already done it. I've already proven myself. I actually had the instructor who tested me the second time for my level 1. I had him check out my level 2 skills, and I would have passed level 2. But I figure I don't really need anybody's certification anymore. And there were some other things. So after I already made that decision, crazy sequence of events, but I ended up meeting Valery Fedorenko, who is the main person I admire his kettlebell lifting. Ended up like partnering with him and opening this gym. It's crazy. I didn't even know he was in Indianapolis. Well, he had just moved here from Kyrgyzstan. He went back to Kyrgyzstan for a couple years, moved back here and to the States, and picked Indianapolis, and it was just this crazy sequence of events. And so I'm learning from him, and pretty soon we're going to be doing workshops together. I'll be learning his style, so I'll be an instructor under his method, and also still doing my own thing also. So I do some stuff he doesn't, but I'm learning from him because he's you could say he's the best there ever was. So I can certainly learn from him. And so this business, which is another thing that I wanted to touch on, this fail lure. And so part of that, like that lure, you're getting tricked, right? I don't fish. I'm one of those vegan weirdos, but that lure, it's a trick, isn't it? Oh, the fish thought it was a worm or whatever, but really it's a hook. So I was an independent trainer at other gyms. I was teaching workshops, and I had regular weekly clients. And then when I decided to go out on my own, and just when I was planning when I had the appointment to check this space out, that's when I met Valery and decided to partner together. So it all just happened. There was didn't even know him. I knew who he was, never met him. And then all of a sudden we meet, we hit it off. We were on the same page. We trust each other. And then like a few days later, we have a business. It's crazy, but it's really cool. So we have some really, really cool things going. Like part of that business is a lot of businesses fail, right? So you can have businesses with good products, and for so many different reasons that they'll end up failing. And I know we have some listeners in Indianapolis, some local listeners, but when I started as a trainer, one of the first places I worked was Bally's Scandinavian. I don't know if those exist anywhere on the planet now, but they haven't existed in Indianapolis for a long time. But I started out there. It was in 1999. And it was like giving people their first workout, calling people that came in, calling uh, old customers and trying to get them back on, and taking people to show them how to use the machines, basically, which if they know how to read, they can read the plaque on the machine. But whatever, that's what I was doing for a short time. And then I got into some other places, and just where I could train people one-on-one and work pretty much full-time or close to it. But I always pretty much had another part-time job to go along with it, because just the nature of the training business for a lot of trainers, it's up and down. So you might be doing really well one week, and then the next week people are on vacation, people get sick, they have this come up or that come up, and you could have, it's real easy to have that happen. And so I usually had another source of income. And so even now I have my own gym with Valerie, but our own spot. And so far I've kept what I call my job. I work at a factory from 5 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. And then I have my clients in the later in the afternoon and the evenings. And it may be getting to a point in the somewhat near future that I need to let that go. I have people contacting me, they want a morning time, and well, I just can't do that as of right now. Can't. I could, but I choose not to. So why would I choose? So this, I'm telling this for a reason. So like as a trainer, how much I make per hour is a lot more than what I make at the factory. So why would I turn down more money per hour for, well, less money per hour and to do a job I'd rather not really do? And maybe part of it is this fear, and maybe for a good reason, a fear of things starting to collapse and I end up losing my gym. So the way things are set up now, doing pretty well. The gym was profitable immediately. Right away, it was profitable. So maybe technically speaking, the first month was, well, it was profitable, but not as much because like the process of like getting everything started. But second month, profits way up, and everything's it just keeps getting better. So what was I saying? So there's always a risk of things going south. So I've kept this other job. If things do start to go wrong for a couple months, I'm still cool. I'm still good, because that's just what happens. I mean, you can have brands that are huge. Starbucks closes stores. Gold's Gym closes gyms. Bally's, it's gone. A lot. There's, the gyms I worked at years ago are gone. There's not so many of them that are still here. So for me, let's say like failure is not an option. It is. Failure is not is an option. It can definitely happen. Now, the way I have things set up, how much I was bringing in before I chose to get my own place, I made a very low risk decision. I didn't get a place that was pushing my budget. I just hope a lot more people come in. It was like, no, if things just stay how they are, I'm still making money. So I can expect things to get better. So but I really don't want to fail. And so sometimes you just got to do things that you'd rather not do to make sure you can do the things that you want to do. But I'm getting closer and closer to letting that go. And even then, I'll probably still have some. I've already talked to friends about maybe doing some other things, different projects here and there that nothing to do with training. But I was reading this book. It was written by an astronaut, and he was talking about thinking positive. He's like, yeah, astronauts don't think positive. It's like these engineers, these astronauts, they have to sit and think up of everything that could possibly go wrong. This thing could blow up. That thing could leak. This thing isn't right. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if there's this or that? And all they do is think of problems. That's because they don't want to die. That's because failure is an option. There's tragedies in NASA. You know, these people are incredibly brave, and even the people that aren't going into space, there's so much pressure. Imagine you're the one figuring out the math to make sure your friends get where they're going and get back. It's a lot of pressure. But he was even talking about how he prepared, and there was like a party where Elton John was going to be performing, and he played guitar. The astronaut played guitar. He's like, well, what if he happens to ask for a request, and what if he happens to ask for somebody, if somebody can play the guitar? And so he learned how to play Rocket Man on guitar just in case Elton John presented that opportunity. And so it took him all this time to learn how to play Rocket Man, right? And guess what happened? Elton John did not ask for anybody to play guitar. He was prepared if he did, but he didn't. So there's a lot of Facebook, well, maybe Facebook not so much, it's there, but Instagram especially to me is like more inspiring. Facebook seems to have more negative, political, and maybe we need some of that too, but I try to ignore that for the most part. Like, why is there so much inspirational stuff? Why do we need that? Why do we need somebody to like say, you can do it? Why do we need that? I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Rico Verhoeven on, and he's from Netherlands, Holland, and he's a Dutch kickboxer, and he's a world champion, heavyweight world champion. And so you're watching this guy, and it seems like, wow, this guy has it all. He just seems to have it all. But then he starts talking about, Joe Rogan was asking about different training modalities that he uses, and so he's going through that. What kind of, plyometrics, and how was this kind of different strength and conditioning, and running, and then Joe asked him, what about mental stuff? Do you see a psychiatrist, a mental performance coach or something? And Rico at first said that he used to look down at that kind of thing, but then he was kind of going through some stuff and decided to go to a sports psychologist. And I don't even know if it was a sports psychologist, actually, now that I'm trying to remember. But and he was talking about how much it helped, and then he was talking about how, you know, sometimes a lot of times it seems like life is just kicking you when you're down, and life is just giving you one problem after another. And I forget the phrasing that he used, but it's like, oh, this guy has problems. So this guy that's, I don't know how tall he is, 6'4", 6'5", he looks perfect. He's heavyweight world champion kickboxer, top of the world. Oh, and he has all these problems. He's like, life problems, life situations that are not going well. How is that? And so he's probably at his peak now, or, you know, who knows how much better he'll get, but he's already, you know, world champion. And now he's not afraid to talk about these difficulties that he has. Self-doubt, or and I was listening to another podcast with Brendan Schaub. He was a UFC fighter. Now he's on a couple podcasts. He does stand-up comedy, but he was talking about, he was on Joey Diaz's podcast, and Joey was asking him about like is there like the similarity between going out for a fight and the fear of getting on stage for comedy. And he was saying, yeah, there's a difference. But he's got that fear doing comedy too. So, but before the fights, you know, he's professional. He was towards the top of the heap for some time in the UFC. He was still having self-doubt. He said in his mind, like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? He said when he was driving to the arena before his fights, he said he would just look at people, and he said he would rather be any one of those other people before, you know, he's like, man, I'd rather be anybody else except for me going to fight somebody that wants to take my head off. So why do we do this to ourselves? It's pretty crazy. I'm trying to read my notes here. Oh, spread too thin. So like one thing, like with I have like all these different ideas for business, and part of it gets channeled into the podcast, part of it goes into the training, but I have like these other ideas too. I'm going to be working on a Roku channel. I got to like settle on the name of it, because I introduced the show. If you notice, I introduced the show differently. I don't even remember how I did. I said, it's nice to see you on the path, or nice to join you on the path, or I don't even remember what I said. I didn't plan it out. It just kind of came out. But I think I'm going to start calling the podcast Path Notes. I've already been doing that. I'm kind of trying it on before I go, making all the changes official. Kind of like trying it out, because it was Path Notes of the Mystic, and before that it was even Path Notes of the Skeptical Mystic that I was kind of trying out, see how that would work, and then I kind of leaning towards Path Notes. And I think people will understand that, because most of the shows have nothing to do with fitness. They might. That still fits on the Path Notes thing. Fitness is part of the path. But so I'm developing a Roku channel. I have and I have like this idea for these short I think they're just called shorts, like kind of like a short movie. I have a few ideas. I have somebody that I was talking with. It's an ex-girlfriend of mine actually, and she has some creative energy. She's wanting to uh, put out there in different ways. She writes, and we've done a few podcasts together. We deleted a couple of them. They were like, say, too personal. And there's one that she's still on with her aunt that is transgender. She she's my girlfriend at the time. She led that podcast with her aunt, and I was there talking too, but it was her that took the lead on that one. But she was asking me about what other ideas I had, because she knows my mind's always going, thinking of things. And so I have a pretty cool idea for some short videos, and I'm not going to say what they are. It sounds. I think they're going to be pretty cool. But if I'm spread too thin, I got to be careful that I don't spread too thin, because I don't want to just do a bunch of different stuff that's mediocre or worse. I want to do stuff that's really good. I want to do professional stuff, and I want to keep improving on that. The podcast is an example. I analyze. I don't listen to every show that I do, but I've listened to most of them. And I hear like, oh, it would be better if I did this. It's stuff that just takes time. So doing my 100, I think this is episode 121. And I'm going to get back to doing some more with guests, but part of it, what I wanted to do is to be able to express my thoughts better. And so that's part of why I've been doing a lot more by myself lately, is to work that muscle. And how do I keep the audience engaged? So there's a lot of thinking that goes into this. This video idea, I think people are going to really like it. And I think they're going to be pretty short. I'm thinking maybe some are 5 minutes, some maybe 15 minutes. Just real like dense but meaningful, cool videos, and that will be in. I ran the idea by her. She thought it sounded cool. We were just talking about it yesterday, and she has some different stuff going, but she was kind of saying the same thing, where she has all these ideas, and then going in like these different, like, false starts, and so she's processing how to focus in on stuff that she really wants to do and not let other things distract her. So that can be tough when you're creative. Like, she brought up an idea to me. It was actually my idea, so that she reminded me of, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a good one. It's like, I kind of forgot about it. But anyways, I'm going to read something from, where did it go? Lil Gibran, changing the subject a little bit here. In the town where I was born lived a woman and her daughter. This is called the Sleepwalkers. In the town where I was born lived a woman and her daughter who walked in their sleep. One night, while silence enfolded the world, the woman and her daughter, walking yet asleep, met in their mist-veiled garden. And the mother spoke, and she said, at last, my enemy, you by whom my youth was destroyed, who have built up your life upon the ruins of mine, would I could kill you. And the daughter spoke, and she said, O hateful woman, selfish and old, who stand between my freer self and me? Who would have my life an echo of your own faded life? Would you were dead. At that moment a cock crew, and both women awoke. The mother said gently, "Is that you, darling?" And the daughter answered gently, "Yes, dear." Some powerful stuff in there, right? Do you resent your kids? And if you don't have kids, do you resent your parents? And if you have kids and parents, do you resent them all? I think it's natural to. And Khalil Gibran spelled it out pretty well right there. But there's also nothing greater, right? You know, I couldn't imagine now being 40. My daughter just turned, or my daughter's 21, just found out she was pregnant. My son is 18. I couldn't imagine them not being around, them not existing. And if I could go do it all over, I would. I wouldn't want to be 40 and no kids. I'm single. I'm not seeing anyone right now. Um, so I'm not with their moms. And my son's mom was a real nightmare. And my daughter's mom was always usually pretty cool. And you know, maybe if you just really twisted their arm, they might admit that I wasn't just absolutely perfect in their eyes the whole time. It might take some real hard twisting, but maybe just the right amount of pressure, they might say I wasn't perfect the whole time. Can you imagine that? Me? But really, there's things that I wish were different. But if they just know that I was trying the whole time, and when I would get them at the time, it was like every other weekend. It was like the law, every other weekend. Dads would just get. Now it's a lot more likely to get 50-50. But um, in Indiana at those times, it was just dad's got a bad deal and pay for it. Everybody pays for it. So if kids just know that I was trying the whole time, there was never a time when I wasn't trying to see them. And there was times when I did have my daughter because her mom was cool with it. I got her every weekend for a while. And there was never one single time when I could have gotten her that I didn't. There were times when maybe I had to work. There were times like that. Um, but there was never a time I was like, oh, there's this really cool party, or I have this really hot girl to go out with, so I'm not going to get kids this weekend. Never, not one single time ever. like, so yeah, it's kind of weird to talk about like the resenting, but yeah, like, um, so I don't like resent them. Um, there are some things that I wish were different. More, it's just like I wish could have been around them more. That's pretty much it. That's what I resent. Resent that situation. And then when I was with them, I was just wanting to have fun, go watch movies, go out to the woods, play around, and do fun stuff. And we got that, but just not as much as I wanted, especially with my son. We got ripped off. Yeah, yeah. What do? You just keep going. And I think like that lure, like it says like the fail lure. Not there was a guy, I think it was in New Hampshire. It's been many years ago, but he was trying to see his kids, and he was getting screwed around by the system. And like his ex accused him of something. He was found innocent, but they told him he still had to go take anger management classes. Why do I have to take anger management classes if I was found to be innocent? And his ex wouldn't let him see their kid, and it was a super stressful situation. He set himself on fire on the courthouse steps. He burned himself alive. Can you imagine that? So if you do have kids, you understand how tough it can be, all these different situations. It's not the kid's fault. It's these situations that come up, and there's just these different situations that unless you're there, it's hard to understand. And sometimes maybe we redirect that frustration to the wrong people. And some people just end up doing things that are self-destructive, and they drink too much or they smoke. There's people that smoke. What's that about? I mean, what's that about? They know it's not good, right? Anybody think smoking's healthy? And it causes all these problems. You have kids and you smoke? Really? Why are you doing that? What really? So if you can get to the point where you can admit that you resent your parents in some way, that you resent your kids in some way, doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you wish that they were different, or it doesn't mean you wish anything else. But to be able to say, yeah, this is hard. This is hard. This is a lot to go through. Maybe just like looking at it is the best way to start dealing with it. So when I think about the situation with my kids, I don't feel I like I resent them. I think because of them, I've been able to do a lot of great things. There's a big difference between what I was doing before and after my daughter was born. My daughter was born first. And I just got to tighten this ship up. Got to go. Yeah, it was hard. The relationship with her mom, 'cause we were together in high school. And so even though perfectly cool now, no problems now, and it's been a long time since there's been any problem, but it's tough. Everybody has these tough times, right? Despite what they may present on Instagram. Oh, look at these perfect people with no problems. So how can you transform that if you do have that resentment? I think like that little thing that I was just trying to explain may be helpful. So it seems like, like as that story goes, the I took my bookmark out. Where did it go? I forget. I don't see where it is right now, but where the daughter resents the mom because she's what's between her and her freer self, and the mom resents the daughter because she took away her youth and her freer self. But how free in that way do you want to be? Maybe you don't want to be free in that way. I just turned to this page. This is from the book The Madman, His Parables and Poems, Khalil Gibran. I haven't read through all of this one yet. Just got it from the library a week or so ago. Defeat. I haven't even read this. It's the first time. Defeat, my solitude and my aloofness. You are dearer to me than 1,000 triumphs, and sweeter to my heart than all world glory. Defeat, my self-knowledge and my defiance. Through you I know that I am yet young and swift of foot, and not to be trapped by withering laurels. And in you I have found aloneness and the joy of being shunned and scorned. Defeat, my shining sword and shield. In your eyes I have read that to be enthroned is to be enslaved, and to be understood is to be leveled down, and to be grasped is but to reach one's fullness, and like a ripe fruit to fall and be consumed. Defeat, my bold companion, you shall hear my songs and my cries and my silences, and none but you shall speak to me of the beating of my wings and urging of the seas and of mountains that burn in the night, and you alone shall climb my steep and rocky soul. Defeat, my deathless courage, you and I shall laugh together with the storm, and together we shall dig graves for all that die in us, and we shall stand in the sun with a will, and we shall be dangerous. Khalil Gibran can write. I'll tell you what. Today I went to the cemetery. I don't think I told this story yet. But today I went to a cemetery. It's one I go to a lot. And was climbing trees, and there was something let's see how I want to say it. I don't want to be very specific. There was someone helping me out with something. This let's see, let's call it a business thing. Someone has helped me with this business thing, and this person wasn't doing as much as I expected. And it wasn't just me, it was someone else also. So it was this thing. Nobody could even guess what it is. It was, but I want to tell the truth without telling what it is. But so I had to tell this person that I'm going to just take over what they were supposed to do. They could have made some good money from making these things happen, but nothing was happening. And as weeks and now months have gone by, it was just time to do something else. No hard feelings. This is just something that has to change. I was hoping that person could do this and make a good amount of money, but that's not what happened. Maybe that person trying to kind of get to my point without anybody being able to guess what it is, because I don't want to be, I don't want to lead on to what it was. It was about something that's not even happening yet, so I don't think anybody could figure it out. But it was like something that's could be happening, but this person wasn't making it happen. And it seemed like it would have been easy enough, but apparently not. So it was a tough decision to kind of a tough phone call to make to tell that person, I'm just going to do this. So I go to the cemetery on these like these few hour vision quests, and so I go like sorting out my thoughts and just kind of like see what I see, and I get messages from the trees, and I get messages from these maybe the animals that I see. I get a lot of messages from the trees. I was climbing these different trees, climbed at least a few of them today, several trees today. I don't even know how many. But I was going to climb and sit up in one for a little bit, and I climbed up, and there was a good spot to sit, but I was a little too out in the open. Like people driving by could see, if they could even see, to, because I think if somebody's in a tree, you might drive right by them and not even notice. But there were no like limbs obstructing the view or anything. So I climbed down from there, and there was this other tree with the limbs like, I can't remember what kind, I don't know what kind of tree it was. But you couldn't even see the trunk because all the limbs come down and the leaves, like you couldn't even really see the trunk of this tree. It was really cool. It was a really big tree, and so I went under the limbs and the leaves, and under the limbs, branches, stuff, and I climbed up, and I found this little box, this little Tupperware container. And it had duct tape over it, and it said, always not trash. And so I picked it up. It was under a couple sticks. But when I was sitting like on one limb, I looked over and I saw it. I couldn't tell what it was because it had sticks over it, but I could tell there was some man-made thing over there. And you couldn't see it if you just walked by. You had to be up in the tree to see it. So I climb over to it, and it said, "Always, not trash." And like in kind of like different parts, always on one spot and not trash, like on the other end of it. And I'm like, well, what is this? And I could see it was mostly duct taped all over, but I could see through the side that there was a Ziploc baggie in there. I'm like, should I open this? And I was like, if it's like like ashes of a pet or something like that, I don't want to mess with something like that. Then I thought, well, is this maybe it's like some kind of like drug drop off spot or something like that, or maybe it's like some kind of CIA spy drop off spot. And I was like looking, and there was like this trash bag like wedged in between, so like the wind's not going to blow it out or nothing's going to blow it out. I didn't even bother pulling that up. I took a picture of it, sent it to 2 friends. It's like, look what I found in this tree. And I asked one person said she would have opened it, and the other was asking like what kind of message I thought it was. I'm like, wondering maybe it was like my future self come back in time to leave me a message. But I want to make sure I almost feel like it was like the remains of something. But why would somebody put the remains of their pet like up in a tree? I can understand being buried by the tree, sprinkled around the tree, but in a Ziploc bag and a Tupperware container with duct tape over it, and then just a couple sticks covering it up. And it was kind of like wedged down in this thing. Like I said, you could walk by it, you're not going to see it. You have to be up higher to see it. I don't know. Well, I think I'm going to start to wrap the show up here. Just turn to this random thoughts and meditations by Klugebrand. I just opened it up randomly. It's called Vision. I don't think I've read this either. When night came and slumber spread its garment upon the face of the earth, I left my bed and walked toward the sea, saying, "The sea never sleeps, and in its vigil there is consolation for a sleepless soul." When I reached the shore, the mist from the mountains had engauzed the region as a veil adorns the face of a young woman. I gazed at the teeming waves and listened to their praise of God and meditated upon the eternal power hidden within them. That power which runs with the tempest and rises with the volcano and smiles through the lips of the roses and sings with the brooks. Then I saw 3 phantoms sitting upon a rock. I stumbled toward them as if some power were pulling me against my will. Within a few paces from the phantoms, I halted as though held by a magic force. At that moment, one of the phantoms stood up, and in a voice that seemed to rise from the depth of the sea, she said, Life without love is like a tree without blossom and fruit, and love without beauty is like flowers without scent and fruit without seeds. Life, love, and beauty are three persons in one who cannot be separated or changed. A second phantom spoke with a voice that roared like cascading water and said, life without rebellion is like seasons without spring, and rebellion without light is like spring in an arid desert. Life, rebellion, and right are three in one who cannot be changed or separated. Then the third phantom in a voice like a clap of thunder spoke. Life without freedom is like a body without a soul, and freedom without thought is like a confused spirit. Life, freedom, and thought are three in one and are everlasting and never pass away. Then the three phantoms stood up together and with one tremendous voice said, that which love begets, that which rebellion creates, that which freedom rears, are three manifestations of God, and God is the expression of the intelligent universe. At that moment, silence mingled with the rustling of invisible wings and trembling of ethereal bodies, and it prevailed. I closed my eyes and listened to the echoes of those sayings which I had just heard, and when I opened them, I saw nothing but the sea wreathed in mist. I walked toward the rock where the three phantoms were sitting, but I saw naught save a column of incense spiraling toward heaven. So what kind of fear, what kind of fail, lure are you trying to avoid? What can we do to make our bets safer? What can you do when you have a good idea or many good ideas and seemingly no time and no body to help make them a reality? Now, when it comes to like business partners, like I talk to different people about business stuff all the time, but there's the one that I'm like linked with for the foreseeable future is Valery Fedorenko, and I feel lucky to be partnered with him. I think he feels lucky to be partnered with me too. Um, um, there's a lot of stuff that nobody knows about yet that's in the works. It's awesome stuff, and we're each making things happen for each other. That's should be the best that either of us have ever had. So this stuff takes time to develop. But that fail lure, sometimes, like when I'm at my what I call my job, like I'll be like several hours into my day. I get to work at 5 in the morning. So right now it's 10:23 p.m. on Sunday. I have to be at work at 5 in the morning tomorrow. I have to wake up at 4. I'm still going to publish this podcast tonight. That's like a deal that I've made myself. I want to start doing 2 a week. I will start doing 2 a week. I was planning on it last week. I've done 2 a week before, or more like I did them as the guests, as we could schedule. And I kind of got away from that by deciding I'm doing one a week. And I'm pretty sure there's only one time when I just kind of took a week off. I didn't really, for whatever reason. But I forget what I was saying now. But I guess, what do you do when you have like these ideas and not a lot of time? My schedule is pretty rough, but other people, but that's just kind of the way it goes. When you want something great, you have to work for it. And we can inspire each other with an Instagram post. I think that's helpful. It's help along the way. We're on our path, and it can be tough. Uphill, rocky, sprained ankle, bad things happen, good thing happens, bad thing happens, good things happen, bad thing, bad thing, good thing. But to be on the path and to see somebody, and it's like, you can do this. You can keep going. Remember, there's other people that have had it just as tough or tougher. You can do this. And it's inspiring, like adds a little energy to your step. You keep going. Bad thing happens, good thing, bad thing, good thing, bad thing, good thing, good thing, bad thing. And then there's somebody else, that Rocky movie, that like, oh, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And you can be that for other people too. So I think, what's the meaning of life? What are we doing here? I don't know, but we're here. And it just seems like the more we can help each other keep going, can't really go wrong with that, can we? I will see you on the path when they merge again.